Hello, my name is Ed Brady. I wanted to take a few minutes here to make a video to show some of the support for lip syncing that I've been working on in Vixen 3 over the last couple of months. What I'll do here is I'll kind of walk through a setup of some lip sync elements and then also show some of the features for manually creating a lip sync sequence and also importing Papagayo sequences and doing actually converting raw text into a sequence. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started here. Um, so I have a new build of Vixen that I have checked in. There's not been a build made of it placed on the Vixen website yet, so I'm going to actually run it directly out of my debugger here. So the so the new Vixen starts up here. This is kind of gives the indication that it's a debug build that I have working on here. I'll try everything I can to make this build available to everyone who wants to play with it. I'm talking with the development team to get a build placed up on the Vixen website. So anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to walk through creating a sequence that has 4 singing elements on it. And the elements are going to be named Dave, Simon, Alvin, and Theodore as the chipmunks. And we're going to walk through sequencing a song to using those elements, and we'll in the same time I'll also show other features like Papagayo, import, and the like. So let's go ahead. The first element is we want to go in and set up the display itself. So one thing that you'll notice is I've added a new template helper here to help set up the channels. This is very basic. What it does is it sets up an element that contains 8 different mouth elements in the display. Just kind of the basic setup. Now we can, if there's demand for it, I can take this and kind of set it up such that we can do a little bit more sophisticated things here and do different types of templates or user-defined templates. But I figured this would be a good starting point for the time being. So anyway, first I want to create my 4 elements, and we'll name them Dave, Alvin, Simon, and Theodore. Okay. So after doing this, you'll see now that it's created kind of like a category or a top level element along with unique names for all of the child elements that may come along with it. So that's what we have now. So while I'm in here, I'm going to go ahead and I'll take these elements here and I'll set them up. I'll just go ahead and set them up for RGB elements so that we can kind of show some of the flexibility here. So after I set it up for that, I now have my 32 elements along with each with a color breakdown for RGB. So I have 96 channels at this point. So for purposes of this, I'll put in a serial controller with 512 channels. Actually, I'm sorry, it's a debug channel, not a serial channel. But okay, and we'll go ahead and patch these elements while I'm in here. Alright, so I have all these patched now. You can go back to the graphical view and see that's what they look like. So for our simplified display, we're set up at the moment. Next we'll talk about setting up a preview. I won't go through all the steps of setting the preview up here because it does take a little bit of time to get all of the elements mapped, but I will show you the preview that's set up and kind of explain it to you in a little bit. So what I've done is before the video here, I came in and set up this preview here with each of these elements. Very kind of crudely drawn, but it kind of gets the point across. But so as you can see, I have an element defined for Dave, for Alvin, Simon, and Theodore. And then for each of these channels, you remember we set up channels for the outline, eyes open, eyes closed, and for all of those single elements of the lip sync. So as you can see, I have each of those kind of mapped to their appropriate place in the setup here. So anyway, this process here, you'll have to kind of do on your own, but it have to draw out the elements and whatever makes sense for you, and then do the mapping between the two of them. So kind of keep going here. So at this point we have our display element set up and we have the preview set up. So our next step is to start actually create a new sequence, and so let's go ahead and do that. And so here's our new sequence that has our channels in it, and as you can see, they're kind of mapped out here. And so next step is that we want to come in and associate audio to the sequence and actually create something there. But before I do that, I want to point out a few other differences between this and the previous version of Vixen. You'll now see a new element here with the big lips called Lip Sync. It's a new effect that we'll use, and then also in the tools menu you'll see that there's now this Lip Sync submenu here that has certain things that you can do with the program. So I'm going to start with this mapping. So once you have a channel set up and you have your preview set up, what you have to do is you have to set up like a mapping. And what this mapping is it is a thing that will allow you to take a set of what are called phone maze and convert them into the actual channels that they correspond to. Now, phone maze, they are pretty much, that's a fancy word for pronunciations. So you have like they're called, like, I'll just pull one out here and show you. These are phone maze here, and what they are is they represent certain mouth positions, and a typical word will have a series of these that properly represents the mouth position. So you see like this AI is kind of like a mouth open, E is a middle mouth, and they're kind of named. These are called Preston Blair phone maze, and they're kind of used to represent sounds and the position that the mouth would make while it's doing those sounds. So anyway, I just dragged that over to kind of show you what it is. We'll get back to this in a second. But one of the first things we have to do is create a map. So in the tools menu, there's this mapping that you have to put together, and this mapping, this is one that I've pre-done. As you can see, it has the channels here that we defined early on, and then there's like a whole series of check boxes here that indicate how that a particular sound will map into the different elements. So like whenever the sequencer encounters an AI sound, it knows that it needs to enable these elements here and turn them on for that part of the sequence. And I have all of them done here. I'll walk through doing a new map here shortly. And then I also added a feature here where you can go in and actually, like if you're using pixels or whatnot, come here and actually assign a color to the element whenever it encounters that phone maze. So if you're not just using like just dumb strings or dumb LEDs, you can actually and you decide to use pixels, you can actually come in and have a little bit of control over them. So let me turn this back to white. Okay, and that's the map. So what happens is you can define multiples of these maps, but if you have different shows and you want the mouth positions to work differently for different shows, for for the most part, you'll usually only need one, but I did give the ability to do two here. So I'm going to kind of walk through creating a new map to just give you a feel for what is involved in it. So on the map dialog that we were just on, I'll click new, and when I create new, it actually comes up with kind of a default dialog. First thing we want to do is we want to name it. Um, uh, just any name you want, you can assign it here. We'll just call this chip version 3 or version 2. And then the next thing is you actually need to assign channel elements to it. So you click assign and you'll see a list of all of your display elements here. And what you do is you for this particular mapping, you assign which ones that you want to be part of the mapping. So in this case here, we'll just say actually we'll just do one here to keep things simple. We'll just assign like the Dave element, and then when we're done, it will actually create a kind of a blank template for the Dave element. So on this element here, so let's say for example on the outline, pretty much I want the outline to be on all of the time. So I'll just go ahead and select the outline, hit spacebar, and enable them. So for any sound that we encounter, the outline will be on all the time. For the eyes open, I want the eyes to be open most of the time. Actually, I'm sorry, I take it back. I want them to be open all the time. Usually, do we ever want them to not be on? Eyes closed, I kind of limit the blinks to just these smaller mouth movements here, because that's usually when you know, if in a song when these are used is more sometimes when it would be associated with maybe somebody blinking their eyes. But you can really kind of assign it here anywhere. Sometimes, you know, you may just decide to do the eyes closed to certain ones just to kind of simulate like a random blinking, but it's completely up to you. So for the top mouth, anything here that looks like it's going to utilize the top mouth, I'll come in and assign, which would be these three. The middle mouth, I usually assign middle mouth to E, but you know, you're free once again to do whatever you know, however you want to do it here. I also typically assign the middle mouth to the rest position, and moving on to the bottom, I usually assign like bottom here, and for this one, you can see they kind of have the bottom part. I consider these the narrow mouths, so I assign those. And for the O's, pretty much just anything that looks like an O. So I think I have most of these covered here. It looks like actually I missed one here. For the MVP, I do the top mouth. Now, like I said, this is completely up to you how you want to assign these. But you know, this is one of the ways that I do it. But it's like I said, it's completely up to you. So anyway, when I'm done, you know, you'll see that it creates a new map here for the one that I just did, and while I still have the old one. Now, as you notice, there is like for these mappings, you have one that's highlighted in bold and one that isn't. The bold indicates that this is what's called a default map, and a default map is a concept of where when we get into adding new elements or importing elements, the default map that is set is the map that will automatically get assigned to those. So, so for example, if I add a new element, a new rest element, as you can see, it automatically assigns this mapping to this particular element. Now I can come in and change that, but this is the mapping here. Okay. So at this point, we've went through the concept of a map and defining a map, and then taking and mapping the individual lighting elements to the different sounds that would occur in a sequence, and you know, kind of what those songs or what those sounds would be, and how you know, what position, you know, how we'd want to customize it to our particular element, whatever that might be. And then also I mentioned default maps, and how once a default map is set, how it will come in, you know, show up as a bold, and then any future elements that you add when that default map is set will automatically default to whatever that value is. One item I didn't cover is once you have multiple maps defined, you occasionally will need to change what the default map is, and that can very easily be done by coming up to the Tools menu, selecting the lip sync, and then going to the default map. And then when you do that, you'll see like a pop-up menu here that shows you a list of your available maps, but then and a checkbox next to whichever one is the currently selected map. So if you want to change it, you would come to this menu, and then, for example, you say you wanted our new map to be the default map, you would come up and then select that. Um, so I'm just going to actually take and change it back here real quick because I want to continue using our existing map, but I did want to show the feature.